Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on September 29th, 2021. We're about 8 months or so into just a crazy administration, but we got a special show for you today to give you a little bit of a break from that. And that we're going to be talking a little bit about the Free State Project. But before we start that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon the Word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. And we have a special guest with us today to talk to us about the Free State Project, and that's Dennis Pratt. And he's involved in sort of all things libertarian in the state of New Hampshire, I guess. So I guess you'll tell us about that a little bit on the show. And my name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. Let's jump right into it. The Free State Project. Let's see, can we get a screen share real quick? So this is the webpage of the Free State Project, and it is sort of a Galt's Gulch of our time. So if you are somebody who is kind of upset with where things are going, authoritarian leanings in your area, apparently there's places other than Florida that you can go. This is, New Hampshire, I guess, has had this Free State Project up and running for about 5 years or so. And this is their webpage. It is an attempt to try to take a relatively small state and invite libertarians to come and form a community there and make a big difference politically as well, because obviously libertarians are sort of a small part of the political scene, but maybe in a small place we can make a big difference. So Dennis, did you want to tell us a little bit about the Free State Project and what's going on over there?
Yes. Could you first, Dennis? I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you first tell us where that beautiful shot was taken? The picture of your on your webpage.
That's one of the tops of the White Mountains that I'm not able to make it up to anymore. Okay. My knee just doesn't make it those trips anymore.
Okay.
But we have
it's a beautiful shot. I just love it. But
in New Hampshire we have a sea coast that's really nice. That's where I live. We have mountains, we have a farmland, we have urban areas. So we have basically all the different areas. A lot of people really enjoy the mountains, though. For my wife's a mountain woman. I'm an ocean person. So we kind of live in an estuary. We live in the largest estuary, I think, in the United States, where it just empties out and fills up 7 feet every single day. I swim there regularly. I swim. This year I had my goal was 5 miles of swimming continuously. So I did that 3 times this year. But it's absolutely fantastic. So.
Oh, great!
A lot of pretty places in New Hampshire.
Okay. So back to Jason's question. Sorry about the interruption, but please go ahead.
Well, yeah. Just let us know a little bit about this Free State Project. I'm sure everybody's looking for another place to be at this point.
So the Free State Project really is a very simple idea. It is simply a communication out to libertarians who are interested in being free and actually living in a freed society at some time in their life, to come to one place, one region, and to actually create a freed society there. The idea is, if you take Mormons, for example, we have about 3 to 5 times more libertarians than there are Mormons. But if you took the Mormons and you spread them out throughout the United States randomly, you would never really even hear of Mormons. They would be like this very odd group, and they would always feel besieged and mocked, but they actually have their own area. They have their own state, the Salt Lake City. They congregate, and now all of a sudden you go to Salt Lake City and it is a Mormon culture. We believe that libertarians actually have a right to their own homeland, to actually have the ability to treat each other ethically. I'm primarily an ethicist, so I think that libertarianism rests on the belief that we all are self-owners, that we have no superior owner, including rulers, that rulers do not own us. And so what we want to do is actually create a society where we respect one another, where we have voluntary relations, where we have win-win interactions. And we have to do that. In order to do that, we have to take this very diverse, spread out, dispersed a group of libertarians and congregate them. It's actually, this came out of a research that Jason Sorens had done. It was his area at Yale about secession movements. And he took it and he basically forced it to apply to libertarianism. But if you think about it, we actually have a much harder problem than other movements, because libertarianism strikes in communities. It's not a whole community, So like religious migrations. You think there's a religious group, a religious community already, and then they're besieged by the others, right? And mocked and derided and vilified, and laws are passed against them. And then they go, we've had it. We're going to pick up as a community and move. We libertarians actually occur in communities somewhat randomly. In my family, I'm the only libertarian. So it's not even a family. And so what we have to do is actually congregate all these libertarians who are spread out. We're about 1 to 6% of the population, 20% if you believe Reason Magazine. But we're spread out so far that it's even hard for people to meet one another in the regular authoritarian states. In the state of New Hampshire, we have such high concentrations of libertarians. I started a clubhouse last year. We have multiple clubhouses. We're doing things every single day. We have events and parties and dances. We have libertarian comedy nights. So it's very much of a libertarian society. And we want more and more people to come here and actually create one state out of 50 that's libertarian. The authoritarians can have the other 49. Some of them will be conservative authoritarian. Some of them will be progressive authoritarian. God bless them all. We just want one.
But why? I mean, did you choose New Hampshire for a particular reason, or it was just because it was your home state and that was the state that you decided to try to set up shop in? Why New Hampshire?
I'm a mover of almost 3 years. I've been here for almost 3 years. So the Free State Project is a very lean organization. A lot of people say, well, what does the Free State Project think about X? And it's like, well, if you were here, you could answer that. It's basically just a bunch of volunteers. The organization Free State Project, its only real job is to communicate this is where we're congregating. The decision of where to congregate, though, was a big decision. I did not participate in that. That was done in 2002, 2003. And there was a competition amongst the people who were signing. They were saying, look, we will move. We will migrate to a place where we can create this. We just don't know where yet. And then they had a big debate as to where. It came down to I'm trying to think of what the second place one was, but the New Hampshire won for a whole bunch of reasons. There were a whole bunch of criteria that were used for it. And then there was a vote of those people who were the extreme early signers as to where they would go. Since then, most of the people who are in the Free State Project who have moved here in order to actually execute this plan come from other states. Right now, we have this gigantic flood of coming from California, New York especially. We always have people coming in from Massachusetts and places like that. But the places that are getting hit the hardest right now in authoritarianism, people are saying, I really, really, really would like to be in a place where that's not happening. As a matter of fact, it's not barreling towards authoritarianism, nor is it just like kind of retarding towards authoritarianism. It's actually moving in the opposite direction towards libertarianism. And that's really what we're doing. My biggest sadness is that we have some of our best free staters, we call them porcupines up here, come from other countries where they have really suffered under authoritarianism. And now with the borders being so closed, they're having a lot of trouble coming in. But we get foreigners who come in, and they usually have one of the spouses is an American citizen. But they tend to be our best volunteers. They're the ones who are the least likely to bend on, we'll have that authoritarianism. They'll go, no, we can't do that. I just moved halfway around the world and I will not go back.
We did, that there's something I wanted to touch on that you touched on earlier, and it's to bring back that what sort of unites libertarians, because like you said, we don't have a community where everybody thinks the same. I mean, it's literally a celebration of respect of our individual diversities. I mean, the idea that you're different and I can accept that, and I'm different and you can accept that, that's what makes us, I guess, liberty lovers. Whereas, a lot of people, like you say, groups of Mormons who get together, it's because they all literally have a lot of things that they want to do that's exactly the same or similar. So that's I guess, one interesting point that I guess probably makes it like herding cats a little bit.
Well, it's really interesting. Jason, you really put your finger on a major difference between our migration and the migration of other more coherent cultures. Libertarianism really isn't a culture. It's not even a philosophy. I consider it, my primary area is ethics. I consider it an extremely thin ethics, on top of which you could have all different types of morals and customs and personal preferences. That very thin layer of ethics is what you talked about, which was respect of each person's self-ownership and how that goes through with all their decisions for their body, their decisions for their associations, for their labor, and for what they do with the product of their labor. So that type of respect is really all that holds us together. And it's so interesting because you get people who move here and they're very nervous, first of all, because they have to leave their community, they have to leave their home, their families, and they come and they don't really know anyone. They're not moving with a group. And they come here and they go, will I fit in? Well, it turns out that we are the most diverse group of people ever. I started a clubhouse that I call Seacoast Harbors Every Liberty Lover, because it's so inclusive. I consider myself a communitarian libertarian, so I have I'm definitely a big tent, open arm, very accepting. But we have another clubhouse that's right nearby that's extremely closed, and they are they're personally very conservative. Of course, they agree with that bottom line ethic, which is the only thing that really holds us together. But they don't like libertines. They don't like these people. They want families. They want people with families and productive and entrepreneurial and that type of stuff. So they have a clubhouse, and they had a clubhouse on the Seacoast, but they were so exclusive that people would come and they go, I'm here in the Free State and I want to join your clubhouse. And they go, nah.
Freedom of association.
So I had to actually create, this more open, welcoming group. I created two groups. One called Seacoast Welcomes Every Liberty Lovers. That's called the Swell, and the other Seacoast Harbors Every Liberty Lover, which is called the Shell. That's our actual building and clubhouse. It's so interesting to see because you do have libertarians over here, and you do have the most disciplined, stoical libertarians over here, and you have people who are into polyamory, and you have Christian family-oriented people. And we don't actually share preferences, we don't share necessarily customs, we don't share even morals, those things that sit on top. how much should you tip a waitress, or how do you open a door for a lady, or all these things we don't necessarily share. In a way, though, Jason, that's one of the reasons why we need more libertarians here, because what we need is to reflect the diversity of America, except that this diversity in one state actually allows each other to be in peace, to live in peace, to live with their differences and not feel as though we have to force those people to be just like us. Now, a lot of
Dennis, but you use that word diverse and diversity. I wonder what exactly do you mean by that? Because when I hear that word on CNN and on an MSNBC, it's always about race. It's always about skin color. This so-called diversity that they talk about. I presume that's not what you're talking about, but I would love to hear what exactly you mean by diversity in your group.
If you think about it, libertarianism is one of the most diverse ethics around, right? We allow you to have any personal preferences that you want, any customs that you want, associations that you want, as long as you're not violating another person's body, right? So we are extraordinarily diverse. Yes. There's that toy diversity that the mainstream media wants you to think is the only thing that has to do with diversity, which is skin color diversity, which is probably one of the least important diversities there are, right? When I talk about it, I talk about preference diversity, cultural diversity, diversity in terms of what you want to do with your life, and you'll see here in the Free State, we have people who come here and there's such a diversity of what they want to do. Some people are extremely political. Some people, they're really agorist. They want to create their own little businesses and create stuff. Other people, they're so into crypto. We're the number one crypto user in the United States. I think probably almost anywhere. I guess there's some smaller countries whose currency is totally collapsed. But you can buy groceries and food and products that are with crypto, and all different types of crypto. And you have people who want to create social networks. So it's so funny because we fall into that thing of, well, wait, you're a libertarian, I'm a libertarian, so therefore you ought to be doing the same thing as I am.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why the Free State Project is really nothing more than just saying, libertarians, come here and create what it is that you want to create. Now, we've created so many things here that it's much easier now because you can kind of glom on to this or that. But it's, I always tell people when they come in, and I invite them to come to the show because we are the most welcoming Liberty clubhouse here. But when they come, I say, look, not every group are you going to fit in with. Just because they're libertarian, all you know if they're libertarian is that they're not going to hurt you. They're not going to use their personal violence against you, and they're not going to go and use a proxy violence against you, right? And now that's a fantastic thing to know, but that doesn't tell you that they're going to be a good friend or what have you. Now,
just to clarify, when you said proxy violence, you mean government, right? I mean,
right.
That's essentially, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I can't go to my neighbor and force him to pay for my favorite charity, but I can hire my politician to hire a guy and put a badge on, and they can take a gun over and somehow that little misdirection makes it all okay.
Yes.
Yes. One person away. No, that's not right. 2, no. 3, yeah, okay. I totally forgot it was you who's doing that to me.
Well, really quick, I wanted to ask you as well, how is the Free State Project doing and meeting its goals? And to top onto that question, are a lot of libertarians getting elected there? A lot of liberty-minded people?
Yeah. So when Jason actually came up with his idea, he thought that we were so. I mean, I've been a libertarian for about 40 years, and I've only lived in authoritarian states, and so I've always been surrounded by people who told me that I was crazy and insane and unethical. When I'm going, wait, I'm actually respecting each and every human being as they show up to me. Why am I the unethical one and you who are using that proxy violence, the ethical one? So it was always like kind of this bizarro world that I was living in, thinking that I was crazy. So, when you get here, I don't think people realize what a relief it is to understand that you're not crazy, and that actually this is like one of the most beautiful visions of the world. It's just that when you're surrounded by authoritarians, you're constantly battling them. But it's hard to imagine that living in an authoritarian state. And so the thing that he underestimated was how hard it would be for people to say, yes, I will leave my family because they're not libertarian. They won't move with me. I will leave my community. I will leave my friends. They're authoritarian too. Yeah, they want to force me to live by their rules, by their laws, by their customs, by their preferences. I will leave all that, and I'm going to go to this state that I've never been to. I don't know the people, and I'm hoping that I'll fit in. That is such a hard sell.
Yes.
The migration of like an intact community is really easy. So we're actually doing the first part, which Jason kind of ignored that was needed. That we actually have to congregate people to say, okay, yeah, we're Mormon, we're Jews, and now we can move together. So we're actually trying to bring people in, and we've brought in a lot of people. At the same time, we're activating people here in New Hampshire. One of the reasons why New Hampshire was selected is that it's always ranked as the number 1 or number 2 most free state in the union on various metrics. So we have a good population that's already somewhat in that direction. They're not libertarian free, but they're somewhat in that direction. And we've been pulling them over there, and they're going to go, yeah, why don't we? So New Hampshire, another reason why we selected New Hampshire, it has one of the largest House of Representatives. And so the ratio is extremely high between the rep and the number of people that they represent. So you actually, when you come here, you can actually meet so many people. So we've had movers. We've had something like over 60 movers actually be elected into state government, and then with right now we have and most of these people stay in the Republican. There's a very strong liberty wing of the Republican Party. Right now, the Republicans have the majority in the state, and we porcupines have a majority in the Republicans.
Oh, okay.
So we have the majority inside the majority.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the authoritarians, even the authoritarian Republicans, are aghast because we're pushing things. We're pushing things very hard, very fast, and we can always use more help. I mean, that's what we do. That's all the Free State Project is come and help us build. The people I always get the most upset with are the people who are in some state that they're totally being attacked all the time by authoritarians, and they go, well, on this one law, this one law isn't as good as my state, and I won't come until you have fixed that law. It's like, who are you talking to? You want me to fix the law that you're the most? You come and you build. We're building this beautiful skyscraper to the heavens, right? We're building, and the people who've gotten here have been digging the foundation. We got this beautiful foundation. It's absolutely fantastic. And these guys come and they look at the pit, and they look and they go, that doesn't have a good view. No. You don't understand. You're here to build. So anyway, the only reason I'm talking to you is I'm just one of the volunteers here. I've been building like crazy ever since I got here. I've been like, thank God. I've been a libertarian, like I said, for 40 years, been mostly talking to authoritarians by myself and feeling totally ostracized. I was the #1 writer on Quora on libertarianism, but they deplatformed me eventually. But I just wrote about ethics. I didn't write about any of these topics, that the controversial things that you guys talk about. And so
when you say, but sorry to
think-
interrupt, Dennis. When you say you're right about ethics, I mean, I presume ethics in libertarianism. Could you just expand on that concept a little bit? I'm not sure that I'm totally familiar with what you're speaking about.
Right. So I'm using the word ethics very specifically. Ethics is that very thin, universal requirement that we all have to respect each other's self-ownership. That bad things happen when we contradict, that we say, I don't own my own body. When I say that I don't own my own body, you have all these performative contradictions. So we know that self-ownership is something that we have to actually rest something on. But now morals, which are kind of customs and things like that, those tend to be more group oriented and stuff like that. It's not universal. So libertarianism is based on that very thin ethic, that very thin universal ethic of self-ownership and what its implications are. And that's the reason why you have so many libertarians coming here, but they'll have different customs and different morals and different ways of being in the world. And we actually allow it. We make that distinction. The authoritarians collapse their morals and their customs and their preferences into ethics. And they say, oh yeah, you have to do X, Y, and Z because me and my group think that that's really important. And we're gonna apply the same penalties as though you're committing murder. We will, and it's like, no. There's a gigantic difference between universal ethics and the morals.
Well, we're getting close to the end of time. And one thing I didn't want to let you get away from us before I asked you this question, and how is COVID affecting the project of getting people there? I assume it's accelerating things, just people trying to get away from authoritarianism, but also how is New Hampshire dealing with this? Are there any kind of crazy laws in New Hampshire where they're just like, anyways, I'll let you go for it.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Our governor was given the highest grade of all governors by Cato Institute. Then he got elected and he did a lockdown. And we were going, what? And we are not pleased. We are not pleased. As a matter of fact, he had a meeting today. He had a meeting this morning, and there were some 200 people in that room, and he shut down the meeting. He canceled the meeting because we've been so outraged in this type of stuff. But 1 week or 1 month after they had this lockdown and stuff like that, we had 95 people in the shell for a comedy club with Rob the Fire Bernstein from and a couple of other New York comedians who they can't do comedy in New York, so they come up to New Hampshire and we'll welcome them. And so we're crowded in there, and we're having dances and everything like that. Now the authoritarians whom we're suggesting that they may want to find other places that are more aligned, as we're finding a place that's more aligned to liberty, they may want to find places that are more aligned to authoritarianism. They're living lives quite differently. But I just went to Maine to Virginia and Massachusetts, and I have to tell you, I don't know how you guys live out in those places.
Well, I can tell you that it's unfortunate. We are definitely a little bit crushed here in California, but unfortunately our time is just about up on this episode too. So we're being crushed by the constraints of our timing. But I just want to let you know real quick, where can you go to find out more about Project Free State, Dennis?
Well, go to fsp.org, freestateproject.org, fsp.org. And, and I highly recommend. There's a couple of major events. There's Pork Fest, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which I ran last year. It was so awesome. 2 years ago, we were the only festival really that went on during COVID. It was like, we're not stopping. We're
we definitely want to have you back. We want to have you back to talk about that on another show as well, because I know we can get a whole show on just.
But come out for the Liberty Forum, for the Pork Fest, or when you come out, go to fsp.org, and there's a thing that says I'm coming out, and they'll introduce you to galoots like me, and you can come out to the shell and have fun and have a great time.